All right, let's consider sample problem 2 for epistasis. First thing we do when we get a problem is go ahead and identify the important information. In this problem, I have a gray rat. Who's heterozygous for both traits. That would be being gray and pigmentation. And a black rat who's heterozygous for pigmentation. First, let's establish our key. I know from my readings and from the previous practice problem that gray is the dominant trait and black is the recessive trait. I also know that having pigment is dominant and being albino is recessive. So now let's set up our problem. I have a gray rat who's heterozygous for both traits. Heterozygous meaning one copy of each allele. Heterozygous for both traits. Again, this is our parental generation. And it's mated with a black rat. The only way to be black is to be homozygous or recessive, who's heterozygous for pigmentation, capital A and lowercase a. I want to consider what the offspring are. Before I can draw my box, I have to figure out what my gametes are. From this first parent, I know that I have 2 choices for letter G and 2 choices for letter A, which means I have a choice of 4 different genetic gametes. For the second parent, there's 1 choice of G, either little g or little g, and there's 2 choices for A, so there are 2 gametes produced from this parent. Go ahead and write out the possible combinations, recalling that this is a dihybrid cross, which means that I need 1 copy of each of the genes, each of the traits in my egg or my sperm. There are my 4 of my first parent, and from the second parent I can have a little g and a capital A, or a little g and a little a. The next step is to go ahead and draw my square. I need as many rows and columns as I have genetically different gametes. So because I have 4 gametes here, I'm going to draw a box with 4 columns and 2 gametes here. I'm going to draw it with 2 rows. Now that I have my box drawn, I'm going to go ahead and put my gametes here. And my other parental gametes down the side. Now go ahead and fill in your boxes. And there are my offspring. Now let's identify what they are. This first offspring here is gray and has pigment. So that gives me a gray offspring. Let's go through and identify any other gray offspring. Here I have a gray offspring, as there's at least 1 copy of the dominant allele for color and 1 copy of the dominant allele for pigment. I also have gray offspring here. So out of these total, I have 3 gray offspring. Let's consider the next square. Here I have a black offspring. Black because they're double recessive for a color, and they have at least 1 copy of the pigmentation allele, so I can see that they have that color. So let's go ahead. So here's black. Here's a second black offspring. And a third black offspring. So I have 3 offspring who are black. Next, I need to consider this offspring here. This offspring would be gray because it has 1 copy of the dominant allele, but it has the double recessive for pigmentation, making them albino. This offspring over here also would be black, but has the double recessive allele for pigmentation, making them albino as well. So I have 2 albinos.